Welcome to the Great Awakening. Today's podcast with Mary Beaver. We talk about why Prince Charles came to America. We talk about the ego, and we talk about the Ascension and what it's like to go from 3D to 5D. This podcast was live from Telegram on at Adonna of Sol's channel, which is Mary Beaver's channel. Tell me what you think, and if you have any questions, we'll answer them next week.
Oh, there's Rusty.
I just got out of a volleyball meeting for votes and stuff like that. 2 hours later. Oh my gosh. Welcome, people.
Wow. So it is a rough day spiritually. Some of the images on my TikTok this morning of the fallen angels and the restoration. Oh, I don't know if I put Baal up there yet, but I did put Baal in the other Lord co-ruling class, but I can't remember his name offhand. But in their 5D ascended name, like the name before they fell. You know what I mean? Because obviously their names changed. Revelations 22:16 shows you like who Lucifer was before he fell, and kind of how he disguises himself down here. So these maps are pretty cool. I'm gonna go ahead and make posters out of them, kind of like what the other guys did with the angels. So I have quite a few maps of restoration for the angels, for the fallen, the lost, the misplaced, and this wasn't really the subject of matter, but I was just letting you guys know that.
Well, I came on late. What's our subject line today? Just out of curiosity, since I have my notebook out.
You didn't come late. I just started it and then you popped in. I was just into the Q&As, but if I can't answer, I guess I'm a little discombobulated today. So I know we had the big thing of the questions that Joel and his brother put up on one of the videos, and I had this whole thing set for it. And then with everything getting ready to happen next week, I just I didn't think I was like, the heavens made me feel like I needed to finish the Book of Angels before I left for that thing. That's happening sometime next week. I think what had to happen was Prince Charles came out, so I know that you guys saw that. Do you guys want to tell me what you think about it, and then I can tell you what I know about it? I would love some interactions on that with other people.
I haven't heard about it yet, so can you tell me?
I only had one question about that because of how I saw it in the past and how it was brought up in the past, like in 2017. And that's only information, not that I got hits. That's not what happened. I know of some information. The only thing I know of is a time loop going now because of my experiences. I'm time looping. And the only question I did have about that is, on one of the things that I was watching from Charles coming in here, is that he started speaking about Trump's lineage. And it was almost like, why do I need to know about that? So that's my only question with you, Mary. Like, why did he talk about that lineage? And they were very specific about it, where Trump came back.
So with King Charles coming over here and going to the three places that he went, he was undoing the contracts of London. Now, I know a lot of people, or not a lot, some people know about the straw man. A lot of people know that we were ruled by London. Short version is he's undoing the contracts, assigning the freedom away of America. Because 10 years after the Civil War, we won, but our founding fathers didn't know how to manage government without being, told what to do. 10 years, we were only free legally for 10 years. And then we went into a financial crisis. The founding fathers hid it and made deals secretly with Spain, London, and France. And they signed contracts in Spain. Hence the whole Christopher Columbus thing. He was part of the Spaniard thing. There was ties and stuff. King Charles is undoing that. So he made these speeches. I didn't watch all of them because, again, I only follow what the heavens let me watch, and they don't want me to get lost in his jargon. I didn't get to watch the whole thing. I got to see little clips here and there that resonated with what I'm doing, and then somebody had sent me X thing and was reading the political side. So they posted the political side of what he was doing. He was surrendering the world crown. Now, the world crown is an ancient crown that actually is from Jupiter. Well, it's not from Jupiter. The diamonds are from Jupiter, or it could be from Jupiter. I do believe it was one of the kings of Jupiter in ancient times that during some kind of political thing gave it as a gift to whatever individual at the time saved the planet against I believe it was the fallen angels in the war that happened there. But when I was reading that post that was posted on X in regards to the the political and the contract stuff, I couldn't finish reading it, and all of a sudden I had to go to sleep. Like I could not stay awake. So that is a download. So I fell asleep for about 2 hours, woke back up, and the heavens showed me that what we didn't get to see on camera was King Charles surrendering the world crown. Now, they cannot wear this world crown. They use it as a symbol of power. So it literally gets juggled around. Long story short, is now in possession of the world crown. It's a benevolent crown forged by, I believe, God creations, angels of some sort. It has blue diamonds on it, very rare, but not blue diamonds from here. It's from Jupiter. And they're all different cuts. They have designs. They were able to show me this said crown. To answer your question, Russie, the going into the history of all of them being royal and all cousins and tied together, yes, they are, but they're illegitimate. They're not like illegitimate. They're just not. They're not the chosen rulers. Like they're cousins. So it's kind of like if we have to look at an example of levels of airship, I mean not spacecrafts, but like ruling class, the high kings and queens, and so we'll take King Charles. His oldest son was supposed to be king, and William is the spare. Okay, so all these guys are spares. That's what they call illegitimate to the crown, meaning they can have their titles, but they're not entitled to rule the country. They're only the spare. Okay. It sounds terrible, but that's what that is. So these guys are all spares or illegitimate. The real heirs are like you, me, and the ones down here, like the whole Cinderella story. So, but they keep us down here in the mindset that, we're just peasants. The Trump is doing an education on the royal class. So letting people know that they have this bloodline, that him and Charles are cousins and blah, 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 blah. So it's a waking up because people can't do the shock and awe. Like, oh, hey, guess what? I'm a king. I've always been one, and that's how it works, right? I mean, we could totally see Trump doing that with his hands flailing open and be like, love me or don't, right? But that would be obnoxious. That could start many different wars. So it's a process, and that's what you're seeing with that.
So my question, which how like they do the announcement, like we told you, that's how I felt. And I haven't watched that
Right.
one series that I watch all the time where I'm like, they kind of update you on stuff. And like, I get the same message because I'm doing so much like, prayer and stuff that for spiritual mapping, which you and I haven't really talked about, which I'd love to talk about that another time. But anyway, the bottom line is I watched that and I was like, oh God, King Charles is announcing Trump's lineage to be like, by the way, doesn't everybody realize where we're all like coming from? And and you know how like I always say like well, it's known that they have to make the announcements and be like, but we told you, so I don't know what you're saying. And that's how I felt, and that's why I immediately text you this week.
Right. So, and again, I just found it odd because I didn't know up until that point, until that individual sent me the the X thing, and then I looked on TikTok and YouTube and some other places, and anywhere to get some news, and so then I saw it, and I was like, oh, okay. So then I was like, well, let me finish reading this, and that's when I passed out, and the heavens were like, oh, this is the contract, and so then I did some muscle tests, and I asked more questions just for verification, and but then I did see another video where they were talking about, and it was funny because the gal that usually narrates for the true intentions of, I don't remember her name, but I watch her all the time. She's got like that white hair, and she made a video with a guy, and he was like, so Trump is really king, like he's going to be king of America. And she didn't like say no, but she didn't say yes, right? She just shook her head like, okay, we have to let you think that because it's a preparation so that people are accepting of not the patriarchy, which is again, the illegitimate ruling class, the usurpers. Patriarchy in ancient times meant like stewardship. So again, the spare was taking care of the kingdom while the real king or queen was you doing whatever, right? Traveling, trying to set a dispute, war, or whatever it was. So that's what the spares were there for. They're just like, if you have a house and you have your parents or your cousins or somebody family to come and say, hey, can you house sit for me? Well, they were kingdom sitting. They just decided they wanted to stay in the position of kingdom sitting. So that's where it turned to patriarchy instead of matriarchy. Matriarchy is chosen by God. Patriarchy is chosen by the church. Hence the reason P for Peter. Anyways, that's a whole other story in itself. So I did another muscle test, and I asked the heavens, was like, okay, well, and my higher self was like, okay, is Trump usurping over my estates? Is he trying to take my claim? And then they said no, and I'm like, okay, well, I got to ask a different question, right? So anybody that doesn't know how to do muscle tests, what you do is you kind of stand up and you hold certain objects, or you have it in your mind of what's happening, and you ask the question, but you always like calibrate yourself. So you'll be like, show me what yes is, show me what no is, show me what maybe is. So then it'll sway your body in certain directions, and that's how you know how you get your higher self answer. And always face true north, by the way. So I was doing that, and then I said, is this a disclosure to prepare America for the crowning of the rightful heir? And then it almost fell forward 3 times. So yeah, that was pretty funny. I'm like, okay. King Charles got to America on the 27th. We got the news to move forward. Yeah, I don't want to give too much information. I mean, I do, but I don't. I would love to say all of it, but and again, right now this one's not that big of a deal. But the first one will be, and that one I will publish publicly. So if anybody wants to show up, because again, the day before court is when those girls passed away. Obviously, I don't need to be hidden in a box somewhere, but because I'm not stupid. I know how to evade everything for the most part. But the day of court is going to be important, so it is very open for people, and I'll show everybody where it's going to be. The address will be posted. The court itself. They might want it to be private, but every document I've ever put was to be announced publicly. So to me, that means it's a public court, because everybody needs to know how this is going to go down, and so that way they can't hide it.
Would you know what state that might be in?
Yeah, but I'd rather tell you offline first.
Okay, that's good, because I'm trying to prepare. If you need people, I got to find out where it's going so I can get there.
I will have some retired special forces and military also going, because again, this is a world-changing event, and I want to make sure that I make it. And I want to believe that the elders are going to behave, but who knows? I don't want to get locked in a tower like I did with everybody else. So and then they make up some bogus bullshit lie that I died.
Well, you got my support. Just got to tell me the details, and I will be there.
Okay. But yeah, once I get the letter from the court itself giving me the date and time of the first date, that I'm just gonna, again, it's just going to be posted. So anybody that can and wants to be there can be. I don't know if they're going to let everybody in, but definitely be in the vicinity. Not that I'm trying to get a big showing, but if this is supposed to change the world, it would be nice if I made it in and out alive. Also, I did hear Charles was coming back at the 4th of July. Rumor has it he's surrendering. Again, I the last couple, this last week has been, like a crazy download drop from the heavens of what I'm supposed to be seeing, and if you can see it, you can reach it, kind of thing. And I'm in the era of manifesting, so if the heavens said this was going to happen, that is what I need to manifest. Charles, I guess, publicly he's supposed to surrender to Trump, to be arrested by and again, this is all show. They've already, those guys are actors. I don't know whether the real ones could be dead. I have no idea.
Yeah, that's how I'm feeling too, because that's what I was saying in 2017 when I first talked. I was like, I already saw this through obviously news, but then I saw things in my own stuff, and that's why I did a lot of those videos of my experiences. But yeah, I feel like we're in a time loop.
Mm-hmm. Like a big one. I mean, I know we've already been rewound at least 2 seasons because our deer, excuse me, the bucks that we have here, they've all shedded their horns. Like I literally watched them in our front yard. Some had the broken horns because they're trying to break them off. Some didn't have their horns. Others had like one had a dangling horn, like you couldn't quite break it right. So that's called shedding of the horns. And I think it was like just this week. They all have brand new fuzzy horns. I'm like, wait, what? It's like it's fall to them because now they're going back into rut season. I'm like, this is insane. I'm like, this is just last month that they were breaking their horns off. So that's a sign that we got flipped into a loop. So we must not have done good the first time, or however many times we've done this. But it just depends on what, again, falls on the permanent timeline. There could be like 10 or 15 different sequences that they're gonna allow us to try, and I'd probably die in each one. So, but the one that you don't is that lands on the final timeline. So that's the one where you could fail 1,000 times, but you'll succeed the one time. Oh wow, what movie was that?
Well, they have it all in all the new movies from the Netflix on the return of what's the movie, the one that Obama did, and it scared everybody where all the Tesla cars started running, and also
Oh
the
yeah,
buck would show up. Well, also because I'm also doing the recent videos of my Montauk Project videos, are that all the deer and the buck came into the town. So that's another thing. But there's so many movies that show that the deer is running into this and being in fear. But the last movies were definitely about the Netflix one. But in Centerport, Long Island, the statues there are all symbolic for the Vanderbilt. It's a Vanderbilt property, and you can see all the corruption in there. But I did a video on it to show you that it's symbolic because it's literally the symbol of the elite, showing that they control the spiritual world. So the
right.
buck is that whole symbolic meaning of it, and they show you in this thing. So I do this video, had no idea, and I'm like, I need to like research this, but yeah, I have it. I did it like 3 or 4 years ago, but I'll screenshot the buck itself. It's too creepy.
Yeah, that's weird. Now.
Yeah, I like that you don't even know that that's my video, and then you're like, and then the buck came over. I'm like, oh my god, I did a video on that years ago.
So I did just post one of my posters. It was actually the many names of Lilith and stuff like that. So it hasn't got any views. I'm pretty sure they're shadow banning it. But there's another one that's already on like 30 or 40 views, and I just posted them. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. The heavens have had me do a restoration of the fallen angels, all the angels that got stuck down here. So and what that looks like in the 5D. Because again, the real creator and creation, they're still children of theirs. Even if they're bad, they don't want them to die, even though, we think that they should. But again, just to the lack of education of knowing what kind of treaties are out there, you know, we don't know what deals were made for them to act the way that they have been.
Now, well, you were the last thing that I wrote down before we all got like I was telling about the deer and everything like that is how many sequences that we did to repeat this cycle. And I always keep saying that they keep correcting things, and people always ask me like, why do you even like Trump? I'm like, you need to keep correcting things, and so I got a whole bunch of thoughts on
Right,
that
and
one,
he
but
is a time walker, so he can manipulate time for sure.
yes, yes, I mean I didn't research that part. One day I woke up and I'm like, oh my god. Anytime I have those hits, I do text you or I text my sister. Yeah, it's just people don't understand that time loop if you're not going into dream state and going forward, backwards and stuff. And
Don't realize it. Everyone's like Bujade. Like somebody said that to me the other day, and I was on the phone with my friend, and she said Bujade or deja vu, and I was like, oh okay. And so I just kept talking, and she's like, no, you've been through this before, and I was like, what are you talking about? And she's like, Mary, you've already said this. This is your second time, and I was like, no, it's not. And she's like, yes, it is. And she's like, went through this whole thing. And I'm like, okay. And she's like, Vushade. And I was like, okay, well then that proves the rewind. And she's like, well, what does deja vu mean? And then she said Vujade. And I was like, well, it's Vusada because it's an ancient word that means rewind. It's an ancient word that means time warps and stuff like that. It's Vusada in ancient tongue, but because people are reading from left to right now, they think it's deja vu. So, but whatever, it still has the same meaning because of the duality. So again, we just crossed into the mirror of darkness, and we live in the dark realm. So, eventually, when we ascend, we're gonna jump back over to the good realm and be happy as clams, right? All speaking the same language in different languages. You can speak different languages. It's just we'll be able to understand other languages. So, and I had no recollection, but in her mind, and she remembers, and I was like, I don't remember that conversation. So that means she's like, wait, only one person remembers it. I was like, sometimes, like the movie Prince of Persia, when he stuck his hand on the, the rewind, he was the only one who did it. He's the only one that could remember it being rewound. Nobody else did. So I was like, that's kind of what happens. Is you have these glimpses. Sometimes it's not perfect, like sometimes, or they need you to remember something, so you don't do it again. Does that make sense?
To me, it makes sense.
Yeah, Joel, I do want to get some of your questions answered.
I don't really remember what questions I had. I mean, I just I left a message, I guess, on one of your videos.
Yeah, and they were good questions. That's why I was like, oh yeah, we could totally talk about some of this on there. So your brother's name is Noam. Is he
Yeah,
the
Noam.
one?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Noam. Okay. So he said that on that particular video, which was the third question, and he asked at 26 minutes and 11 seconds that I mentioned the transition between the third and the fifth dimension, like two stargates, while the fourth is in between. I was wondering if this is somewhat related to the Fibonacci sequence used in the blueprint of this current creation, where it jumps from 3 to 5. Any thoughts about that? So
Hmm.
I'm not 100% familiar with the Fibonacci. I do know that as I'm doing these posters, it seems to bring up not just the Fibonacci, but other terms of the the gradual 3 to 4 to 5. So
Yeah.
I would agree with that. But again, it depends because everybody's ascension is different but similar. So it's kind of like we're all human to an extent with this cross DNA that we have, which makes us even more unique.
Yeah.
So can you guys hear that? I should make my
Well, what comes to mind for me is like the intervals between keys, are like pure tones. So it could make sense in that term that the distance between this tone and the next tone is this distance, and anything in between it just doesn't resonate in the harmonious structure, whatever generates an actual reality field.
Well, again, our realities, though we may appear to have similar ones, are not the concrete ones. We only see, I would say, 15% about of the 100% reality.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense.
So that's why we have glitches when we say, "Oh, I saw something the other day," or "This happened," and like I literally saw my house at one point at the start of this whole process, like 3 or 4 years ago. It didn't fully disappear, but like the walls did. I'm like, oh my, I kind of freaked out because I was like, and I saw a glimpse of a whole different world. Like, so
Yeah.
I did start to think that maybe I was in one of those tubes or something. But it was weird. It's not, I wasn't in the tubes. I was in like another building, but I couldn't see myself outside of what I was at that moment, but just a thin line across. I'm trying to describe it. Like if you're on a spaceship and then all of a sudden the windows go transparent, and you can see space, but then it turns back into the the spacecraft. That was
Oh,
kind of the image that I had seen, and it was like surreal, like somebody had accidentally turned on the windows, and then it was like a malfunction. Oh shoot, get it off, because I was looking, I was at it, and then I went to touch the wall, and the wall was still there. So I'm like, is this a window? So it was a trip. So those are what they call the glitches of your consciousness.
okay. So, how does that fit into the context of this third dimension to fifth dimension concept? I mean, this is more from my brother. I wish he was here to like actually talk to you about this, but um, yeah. What do you? How would you relate that? That idea of my brother was asking in terms of the fourth dimension and describing it as, I guess, something in between. And so, with what you said in relations to your dream experience with this ship and seeing through this um, the wall as a window into space, how would you like relate that to the differences between, I guess, a third and fifth, and with the fourth dimension?
Yeah. So the best way that I can describe it is like the third gate to the fifth gate, and then that road in between. So where you're walking it, and it's like space time continuum threads, because it's the thread of time and the space in between.
Hmm.
So it pulls a yes, it does pull a physical reality, like the physical body. Um, but then at the same time, it like breaks you down into the dust in which you were originally created, and then puts you back together at the end.
Hmm.
I don't think many people can actually think how that works until we're into the ascended time framed area of walking that. So if we're in the 4D, we're here, but we're not here. That could be why a lot of us aren't being attacked anymore. Or, it might seem like we have the memory of it, but it's not actually happening anymore. I don't know
Hmm.
if that made sense.
Not entirely, no.
I don't know how to describe it. I can probably look into the forbidden knowledge and see if there's a better way of description.
Yeah,
But I
well,
don't think they talk about the 5D
okay. Well,
in the
this was
forbidden
more of
knowledge.
my brother's question, so I'll just refer back to him, and I'll talk to him and see whether he'd like to come on next week and have a better conversation with you about this, so he could help kind of facilitate the process of this question answer process.
Well, maybe like walking across the rainbow. That's a portal. That's the
Mhm.
that's the space time continuum bridge. Only we're inside of it.
Yeah. But wouldn't the fifth dimension experience be vastly different in the third?
Yes.
So how would you describe the difference?
You can. That's where you're gonna restore your telepathy.
Mm-hmm.
I did a video on that with the Source Ascension to versus the Masonic Ascension.
Mm-hmm.
Because again, I'm terrible at delivery. I can write it and then I can read it. It sounds better because then I can take time to put it in there. But the difference is, again, depending on who you are, what your special abilities are, because even the fallen angels get to ascend, and that's what I'm working on. With the source sigil that I have to recalibrate the code. So the math is incomplete at this point. And in order to create that ascension bridge for the consciousness, and again, I'm not the only one that has this sigil. There's a few other people that have it as well. So we're like the bridges. And if you've ever seen, there's a cartoon. It's a Mexican well, it's American, but it's about Mexico and the land of the dead. And they have these bridges of conscious, or these spiritual bridges that go from the land of the living to the land of the dead on the day of whatever, the day of the dead.
Wasn't that called Coco or something like that?
Yeah, thanks. Well, yeah, Coco was the grandma's name. It was something like that. But yeah, that's kind of what the consciousness bridge looks like.
Hmm.
So there is no land of the dead, but they have to tell you in a way how the spirit, the soul, and the physical can coexist, because we coexist anyways. You just don't know it. You know what I mean? We've lost the ability to understand the parallel and the different dimensional realms that are literally right in front of us. We can't see them because we limit ourselves out of fear.
Right.
But everybody will see different doors. Like, I don't believe I'm going to see a bridge like that made of flowers. Mine would look more like a golden bridge of dust, but there's that 0 point that's in there between the third and the fifth. That it's called the celestial mirror, and it's where you have to face yourself. Like, and I've had a few people that I've talked to about this the last couple of weeks and the musicians and movies talk about it too. The point where you have to look at yourself in the mirror. Some people see an evil person, a demon. Some people see a child. Some people you see, whatever. And the best way that I think I came to the conclusion was like Harry Potter and that mirror that he almost got lost into. So the Dumbledore had to, stop him from going to see it because people go mad trying to find answers when there are none. But other people have things they have to resolve, transition, let go of. And if they continue to keep grasping for 3D feelings, material possession, I mean, again, you don't have to worry about losing any material possessions. You just have to find the greater part of what you would like. That's part of manifesting. Don't hold on to what no longer serves you, because that's what holds you back. So when you get to the 0 point of the 4D, which is a transitional bridge, you have to face everything about you. You have to let go of what was in the 3D, the narcissism, criticism, the bullying.
Yeah, I can relate to that. I've been writing for my Substack account, my publication. I have this publication. It's because I'm into self-mastery and this universal connection that my teacher's been teaching me. That, when I do it, I produce psychic kinetic abilities, phenomena like anything from a breeze to getting to move the flames and the fire, or accelerating it, or dimming it, and stuff like that. And in the context of my writing, stuff that I've been learning a lot for many years now, for probably over a decade, comes to the concept of the ego. And we all talk about the shadow self, the work on the shadow self, and like there's a whole aspect of the ego that we work on. And so I can relate to what you're saying in the context of, there's a soul and there's the ego, and they're both at battle, trying to, in a sense, like allegorically, they are working to have dominion over the physical form. One is based upon just the programming from this world that we've had, that we all grew up in this really backward system that is so rooted in selfishness and greed and lust and just all these different things that have just corrupted the self. And then there's the qualities of the soul, which is more in line with connectedness, unity, community, anything like that. And so I can see what you mean in terms of like the way upwards in our evolution comes with essentially cleansing the ego and cleansing those parts of ourselves that are just so habitually distorted, and they follow an unnatural way of life, just patterns that are destructive. And so I can relate to what you're saying in that context.
Right, but everything has to find balance. You actually need your ego to ascend, and it's not that you need it to be a prick, right? You gotta find balance. Sometimes too much of a good thing can be a bad thing, right? And too much of a bad thing can't be, I mean, it can't be good, but people can be raised thinking that, bad things are good because we give it a reason. Like, oh, I have to beat this into you because I love you, right? That justifies physical abuse. It's because I
Right.
love you, I have to do this. And that's what that means is too much of a bad thing can be a good thing. It's a reverse psychology, but it is part of the 3D matrix. Um,
Yeah, I
Going
mean,
into the 5D.
discipline is not really that fun for people, but it's what builds a stronger character, and one that has boundaries.
Well, kind of yes and no. So how would you build a strong character in the 5D if everybody's all like blissfully like love, happy, light, blah blah blah? There's more to it. There's peace, there's knowledge, there's physical, and I mean, you'll still have your warriors, but so what does the warrior look like? We have the gladiator arenas. It wasn't to the death that we fought. It was, who was strong. It was like the arm wrestling, but with your whole body and all your powers. Like, oh, hey, what can
Yeah.
the lightning man do against the stone man, right? Because lightning, it could like chip the stone, but it's not going to like really explode it unless it's really detrimental. So that's what the arenas used to be. It was entertainment, and it's okay to have entertainment. It's just if it's safe and it's not part of, some kind of like murderous ritual.
Hmm.
Um, But yes, you do need your ego. These are all tools that we have. You have to have your ego, you have to have your fear, you have to have all this stuff. And fear just turns into caution. Fear just turns into, you know, like what wild animals do. Like, yeah, can a mountain lion kill me? 100%. Does it want to? No, because genetically over the last 300 years they've been shot. So they know due to genetic education to stay away from humans as much as possible. Now, if they're starving and diseased, they're going to go straight into, a blackout state. They just need food. So that's when humans usually get attacked, and ignorance of humans of being in an area they're not supposed to be in with nature.
Yeah, I totally understand what you mean in terms of the ego is part of the self. And what I've learned from Pramanta Yogananda, I've been reading his commentary in the Bhagavad Gita, which is the royal science of God realization, and his commentary goes into the idea that the ego is the pseudo soul. It is the soul still, but the soul that is, in a sense, mortalized in its ideas of its existence, and it takes on a lot of these ideas and concepts and programming that limits it into physical form and the perception of separation and individuality, and within that, the context of what existence is within that framework. But in another sense, the soul itself has this ego. And from my teacher, Michael Grubb, I learned that the ego is more of an AI, which is why it's almost able to learn from you and is able to automate everything that you do. It makes it a lot more convenient for you to remember interactions with people and relationships, and retrieves information for you, gives you suggestions and all of that, and basically runs your personality and helps you uh, experience it. Because if underlying it all, we are all one consciousness, how do we re- um, wake up every day into this specific body and have an individualized um, experience, a memory of our personality that is so unique and different than others? How do we have inclinations and tendencies that are specific to us, and we don't just suddenly start following somebody completely different, their experiences and tendencies that we have never had before? Perhaps they could possibly bleed from different dimensional worlds, whatever, like the connections that we have with everybody else. But the ego helps this neat and tidy experience in this world for us to have. And so I've come to see it more as an assistant, as an AI assistant. It learns, it oversees, it makes everything more possible for us to work. But because this world has taught us through its examples, through its social structure, through everything that we've witnessed being done, how people treat each other, and how people just exist and live life, that this is normal, this is how behavior should be, and this is how we should behave as well. And then being able to change that is not that easy. So how do people move from a three-dimensional world of having to navigate this specific framework to a framework that is a fifth dimensional, which does not really leave room for lower vibratory experiences?
Well, we've already mastered the lower frequencies. I don't think we need to hang out anymore.
Yeah.
We're adult infants going into a new dimension, but we're not going to go alone because, unfortunately, the elites are the stewards of it. They've been there and they know what it is. How we learn is the important part. So I guess it's like pick your master teacher, right? A lot of people will migrate towards the Shaolin. Other people will migrate towards the shamans of tribes around the world. Others
Mhm.
through professors, of mystic and occult stuff. Um, my education is coming directly from the heavens, but it's still something I have to experience, right? So it's all
Mhm.
baby steps. And so again, we've mastered the 3D. We're done with it. Now we have to master pretty much how to walk across one area to the next area that doesn't have a bridge. But the bridge is there. You just have to believe it's there, right? That's how you build your subconscious bridge.
Right.
And nobody, it's how you do it is different. The books that I'm rewriting and the posters that I'm going to create with this shows the 3D with the angels. The angels will help you, even the fallen angels, because the heavens will not let the fallen, stay fallen.
Mm.
Everybody's got to ascend. It's everything. So to get their rightful name, to be able to have them guided, and I've talked about this in past podcasts, like with you know that we are the ones that turned our angel guides into angels or demons because they're with us. They're always with us. It's if you have a thought, like, and I use the relationship as an example. So, just for an example, let's say you really like somebody, but they already have a boyfriend, but you'll do anything to get that girl. So you somehow sabotage the relationship, right? Uh, but nobody could see the sabotage, the background. So you get the girl, and the guy, he doesn't. But they were meant to be together, but you manipulated it. And there's actually occult spells to do this. I don't recommend it at all, but all that's going to
Right.
become public. It's actually already public.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't have the consciousness to see those books yet. Um,
Mhm.
in a way that's not a bad thing because I would hate to have spells put on me. I mean, I already have spells put on me. It's exhausting. And another one is the other one example I like to use is in corporations, like in a company. Let's say somebody has been with a company for like 15 years. There's a position for like a really high level position. That person has more qualifications as having hands-on experience with the company, knows everything about the company from the ground up. But then somebody from a graduated university with honors comes and they get the job.
Mhm.
And let's say the backlash to that was that the person that really worked hard to get here, let's say their mom was dying of cancer, and that position would have given them, the PPO plan for insurance to get her fixed.
Yeah.
And now she's going to die because he didn't get that. That's kind of how that looks. Those were the lessons that had to be learned in the 3D, including the wars and the trespass and So it's hard to answer any one question that says, how do we do it? Because everybody's ascension is different.
Yeah.
Like, I have to take on the elites, but other people just take on courts, right?
Yeah. Well, it seems like it for me. It seems like it has a lot to do with alignment, because if the fifth dimension or the fifth D is essentially another state of consciousness that phases you into that dimension, then it's a matter of aligning yourself with that dimension to enter. It's like changing a channel, right?
Not that fast, but yeah.
Well, yeah, in a gradual manner.
Yeah, in a gradual manner.
Yeah, I can't imagine somebody being able to go full in, and then they have their past life tendencies just pulling them back, and they'll just fragment.
Well, no, people have fallen back. I know a few people descending right now
Okay.
because they're afraid of what they don't know. Like, you can ask the questions. You're like, what are we going into? And I'm like, I don't know what you're going into. I know what I'm going into. I know what that's going to look like. But you get downloaded your future. It's whether you believe it, because the heavens aren't going to send you something that's just a joke, right? But for you to be able to identify whether it's from your higher self, the heavens, or from the corporations down here trying to implant you.
I have a question, Joel. Is your Substack private or public?
Oh, it's public. It's called Evolution Through Nature.
Oh, did you put it in the thread? I'd love to see that.
Oh, I haven't yet, but I could. Yeah, I'm about to publish tomorrow an article about the ego in, yeah, in the context of this universal connection.
Oh, I'd
Right.
love to
No,
see
he
that.
has a lot of good stuff. I always tell him he should post stuff in here, but he sends it to me and then I ask permission. Can I post it in the group?
Well, what I've shared with you, Mary, is mostly stuff I see like on Instagram because my algorithm just sends me those stuff. The stuff that I write is I haven't really produced much videos in that regard, other than sharing demonstration of my connection or my teacher's connections or sessions that I've had. Um, but in terms of the educational part, I have only been writing things and just building up my publication.
But yeah, it's awesome. Well, and that's kind of what I'm doing because I don't know how available I'm going to be after this event takes place.
We can continue this another time. I'd love to hear more of your perspective, but yeah, this was lovely. Thank you for walking me through this.
You're welcome, and thanks for asking the questions. And yeah, I'll have better questions next Saturday, better answers next Saturday for the questions that you posted. Because I saved them,
Yeah,
and Rusty and I were going through them, so I just today just got a little weird because of all the weird stuff going on.
yeah, yeah. Totally understand. And I just want to, highlight the how important it is. I've seen how important it is to work on people's egos and how people don't normally aren't fully aware and fully understand what the ego is and how to navigate
Right?
it. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well,
Yeah. So
you have a
don't
lovely
forget your
day.
ego because then you got to resurrect it, and that just puts more time into your ascension. I will. You
Yeah.
too, Joel. Talk to
All
you
right.
soon.
Talk to you soon. Have a good day,
Bye.
guys.
Bye.
Bye.
I like that topic because I think people have a misconception of ego. And once you go through a whole process, even a living situation where you just get your whole entire like you wipe out your life and you lose everything, then people reflect. And I think that's a great thing because right now people, what's out there in the whole spiritual world, it's like you shouldn't have an ego. And I never believed that.
Me either. I'm like, why wouldn't you have an ego, man? That ego tells me that I can make it if I jump. Without it, I wouldn't move. I'd be frozen. My ego said that I could be like this special forces person in the military, even though other people around me said I couldn't. So I was like, well, you said I can't, but my ego said I could, so I'm gonna check it out. Maybe you're right, maybe I'm right. But you'll never know if you don't try, and that's what the ego provides you, is the opportunity to try. And again, you can fail 1,000 times, but there's going to be one time you're going to correct it, and it will be always the right way to do it. And it doesn't matter what it is you're doing, right? You can't learn if you don't fail. Nobody is born coming out fully grown, walking and running and, exercise and stuff like that, knowing everything. We come out and it's called baby steps for a reason because you have to learn.
Well, that's why I'm saying, like, I'm an athlete, and people would be like, "Oh, you can't do that." Like, I would hear things like that over and over when I was little. I go, "Yeah, I can. Don't say that I can't." And that's just whole my philosophy in coaching. Although there is a lot of head work on coaching people.
Yes. Well, and I get it a lot from my family, and they're just like, when they tell me I can't do something, I'm like, no, you can't do something, I can, or I'm gonna try, and then I'll tell you if I can't because I failed at it. But I usually find a way around it all, so there we go. I might not be able to do it that way, but I will find a way. And that's the timelines. It's the same thing, finding a way to do it. I didn't think I would get where I am today, so but I didn't not try. And then weird doors were opening, and I was like, whoa! It's like being in a castle, and like, what's behind this door? What's behind that door? And there's like adventure everywhere. You could probably get stuck in a castle for a whole year with all the secret doors, the libraries. You know what I mean?
Can I ask a question? I know earlier you said something about a contract where Charles came and met Trump to give back the contract or the crown. Can
Well, it's
you
to sever
elaborate
the
on that?
contract. Yeah.
Can you elaborate on that, please?
He's just dissolving the contract over the United States, not just the United States, but worldwide. Like all the countries that I think Queen Elizabeth had like 134 countries under her. So that's what they were signing was it wasn't just for America. It was because America is the powerhouse. I mean, you don't call America the most powerful country in the world because it has, a cool military. You have to go deeper in that rabbit hole and see why. The other reasons, if that
So
makes
does it
sense.
have anything to do with the birth certificate for all the
Yes.
countries?
Yes.
What's going to make a difference now? And when will this be uh, enforced?
I guess whatever happens at my court date. I
Oh,
don't know
oh, it
yet.
all lines up to the court gate. Okay.
It all lines up to the court date, yeah. Because
Okay.
again, with those other three heirs, I mean, were we watching something and we just didn't know? You guys know because you've been following me most of this whole process. So you can see it and you'll ask me and be like, hey, this is happening. Does this have anything to do with the Book of Life? And I'll be like, I think so, because I had just filed something, right? I don't know
Yeah.
where that filing is going to affect what country, but we've seen things. You know what I mean? So were
Yeah.
we seeing things when the other three girls before me were filing stuff too? We might have, but because we weren't in their inner circle, we didn't see the changes that they made. So like I said, if I pass away, I'm not saying I am, but if I didn't make it, then the people in my circle would know like what changed. But then they'd have to bring in another heir. So and then they pick up where I left off, but they still have to go through the same process. They have to do this master. Now, would they take my exit? I don't think so, because if that person didn't know that it was me and that I had that exit, they would take like the Templars exit. They would take just the treasury to be the royal, and then that royal can be controlled because it has a straw man. So everything has its time. So just because King Charles signed a declaration freeing not just America but all the other countries, it depends on it's kind of like when they did the Constitution. Had all these people's signatures on it, but it wasn't finalized until it was finalized, right? So that's supposed to happen at what's called the inauguration. But it's not an inauguration to a country that has never or hasn't lived under a royal anything. Nobody knows about these steps, so it's all new. So I don't know how that's going to go. I can only assume. I don't know if it will be like what the royals do in other countries because they've illegitimately been running the world for a long time, so they've made their own contracts in order to do that. Does that make sense, Jacqueline?
Yeah, that makes sense. Thanks.
You're welcome. So yeah, the angel stuff is interesting. Everybody gets to ascend. Those that don't ascend will perish in the lake of fire, something like that, um, or pass away. However else that. Well, for the immortals and stuff like that. Um, I thought it was interesting. One of the gals in the Book of Life, she's over in
In New Zealand?
New Zealand. Yeah, thank you. I was like, what is it called? Um, she sent me a video, and she said that the Templars are starting to become transparent with their filings now. So again, when I did that source versus the Masonic Ascension, and I put that out there. This is where we as a collective, everybody, again, not just myself, I'm not doing all this work, and that there's not others. There are others. There's many others, like Rusty and uh, anybody that's coming out with disclosures, whether they're being controlled or not controlled, there's still information coming out. So, and again, these are all just different timelines, and eventually they'll all merge together. So, when you put something out that has truth in it, then that does something with the planetary and celestial algorithm. So here this Mason comes on, and so she sent me the video, and she's like, he's talking about opening their vault and being transparent, and opening their doors to the teaching, which is something that I talked about on that video. Was if they wanted to ascend, this is what they would have to do, right? They can make the choice to stay in the 3D, but here's the consequences of that choice, because the earth can't stay in the 3D. It will wait for you until you die, but it has to move forward like everybody else. So it feels like that the Templars have decided to open their doors first, so we might start seeing a trend. I know I see the Masons all the time, but I've seen a few Masons online kind of walk away from their oaths. Others, I see them ramping up, trying to say that they're the guardians, and there's just like this resistance, but then there's this other part where people are like, you know what, I want to be part of the Ascension. I don't want to be part of the secret societies anymore. So I think we're going to start seeing a lot of that. And that's what I'm working on with the fallen angels as well. And I would love to be able to tell you guys my findings with all that. I will have a book of the angels, but it's literally like 400 pages already. So it'll list all the angels in their dictionary, their counterparts, of their masculine, feminine reunion, and what they did when they fell. What the negative energy was, and then what they will restore in the 5D. And again, you can call on their names. Um, to use them in your manifestations, your daily life, in order to move forward. And nobody can do block frequencies. The ascension, even for the angels and the muses and the gods that have been captured or considered fallen down here for so long, won't allow the negative 3D energy to be pulled anymore. So we'll see a lot of that malfunctioning more, where people can't control others. So yeah, and then the posters were kind of cool, because again, they're like mapping, but I have mine mathematically mapped correctly, so that way, when you do buy them, you'll be able to read where it was in the 3D. Some of them have the 4D transition, and then to the 5D. So it just depends on the angels, the groupings, what they did, and stuff like that. It's categorized as best as I could put it together. So, but I'm pretty super excited about it. Um, and then we get to use them as guides again. They become more of the guides and the guardians that they were, as opposed to what's been happening. So that's a positive thing that I'm looking forward to.
And Mary, can I ask you a question again?
Sure.
You mentioned that the Earth would not be able to stay in 3D. So is it gonna send into the 5D also?
Yeah, it's like us growing up. When we're born, we're little, we're tiny little humans that people can hold, pinch their cheeks, and we're helpless, right? And we grow up, so this is how she's going to grow up, but they just call it Ascension because we live on her. So, when she grows up, they call it like World Ascension. However, she has been harvested to the point that she can't grow up by herself. The energy of us, of the negative energies and the people that don't belong here super exceed her ability to use our energy in order to grow. So we have to eventually leave Earth, and that's why they're trying to look at the settlements on the moon and Mars again, to be able to allow the Earth to do its proper ascension. Those that refuse to leave will unfortunately, they'll have a death, but their spirits and souls will, go back to their original source. Mm. Well, we'll be parked over probably outside, right outside the Earth or on the moon. It's just a 50-year transition.
I just wanted to ask, does source code mean something to do with consciousness, or what is that?
It's all of it. Source code is the original coding of any kind of existence. So it could be the blueprint before anything was created, because before the stars and the planets, everything has an original source coding. So from my experience recently with doing the angel recalibrating the angels, I guess you could call it, or restoring, doing a restoration on the fallen angels and all the lost angels and everything else that the heavens are having me do. I do it against the source code. So in the forbidden knowledge, the secret societies have books that talk about the source codes from thousands of years ago. And the last time the books or those codes and sigils were updated was in the 1800s, but before that it was the 1500s. So some people like myself, and again, there's others, and I'm not the only one, they're they're chosen to get downloads, but this is where your ego comes in. So your ego can stay in fear and reject the download or the choosing. And that's why I say, it's your choosing. You can choose to walk away, but it will move to somebody else if you do, and then your ascension will take longer. So that's why I keep telling everybody, when I was chosen to do something, I was like, I don't want to do this. This is nuts, right? I don't know what I'm getting into. I don't like the Templars. I can't stand the secret societies, but I have to work with these people. But when it comes down to it, you have to have your ego to push forward. So the source codes from the secret societies right now went from 1 to, I think, either 91 or 94. I can't remember offhand, because I've been working with the other numbers. So to recalibrate each time somebody is given a sequence of numbers, these are mathematical equations. So in the 1D, we had maybe, I would say 33 codes. Let's just say 33 codes because it's an esoteric number, and the esoteric numbers, don't be afraid of them. They're part of your ascension. They're part of your physical makeup, okay? So, but in the 1D, let's say we only had 33 codes. And then when we got into the 2D, we then had, let's say it bumped up 15 points. Or six, whatever. Let's give it a figure, the 66. It had 66 codes. And then as the last 6,000 years went on, they got up to the 94 codes. And then they got stuck. So in their book, they said there's other codes. We don't have it, and they couldn't move forward without it, right? But that was them trying to capture whoever had those codes. So again, the heavens creator, the real creator, owner of this planet, either him or the Queen of Heaven, who is creation, will download somebody with those codes, or they'll somehow get the codes to you, either by a sigil or an ancient something. Something's going to pop up, and they plant it in your brain, and then you start to see stuff. But if you're surrounded by all these handlers that prevent you from, doing this. Your ego, if your ego can't bust through that and be like, you know what, I'm doing this, whether y'all like it or not, back the F off, then you're going to put it away or try to get rid of it and be like, I can't do it, I can't do it, I can't do it. And then that energy of choosing leaves you and goes to the next person that might be able to do it. So that's kind of what's been going on since 1999. Everybody's been jumping around, but up until recently, I would say since maybe 2023, people have been, they've been killed for having these downloads or taken, go missing, stuff like that. Because the secret societies have been trying to capture everybody in order to get those codes. So that's why, trying to find some type of master exit, whether it's mine or somebody else's, you got to give your oath to somebody. And if it's not your creator, then find somebody on this planet that you think is your creator and find an oath. Because you don't want to get picked off because you're still owned. So the source codes, mine goes up now to 99. So what I'm doing is I'm recalibrating all the mathematical divine codes that they had, and I'm adding in between, for example, if theirs goes up to 94, I'm adding in 95 to 99, and I have to redo the celestial mathematical equation for the matrix of Earth to end the negative matrix, to go back into the divine experience of the 5D, to crystalline everybody on the planet again, building that bridge, opening it up so that nobody has to fear the ascension, that somebody's going to come and kill them. Everybody has to be on the same path. But there's got to be a few people on the planet that have these keys to be able to do it. I was the first one to get it. Well, not the first one. I was the first one to understand what I had. But it did take 3 years. I had it, but the heavens wouldn't let me really go into it until it was time. And that, again, is divine timing, which I know some people are afraid of divine timing, but you got to get over it, right? Because you can't call yourself a divine being and not believe that there's divine timing in your steps to succession. So, and ascension. So I'm recalibrating the fallen angels to reunite with their husbands or wives who they were created with in the heavens, because they were created in pairs mostly. There's a few that weren't, but not many. And that would bring them back to being whole instead of half and put them back in balance. So these codes are just fixing what got broken during the 3D.
Kind of, I'm not too fond of.
Well, right, but that's a fear. So again, I'm not going to run and give my oath to Lucifer and be like, woohoo, let's go, buddy. Let's destroy the world. I mean, him and I could totally sit down and talk about stuff, and Jesus did the same thing. Sat down, talked to Satan, talked to Lucifer, talked to the fallen. You can have conversations with these guys. It doesn't mean you're, falling for their tricks. And that's where your ascension comes in, because you're now more powerful, and you know that these cherubs have no power over you, because that's what they are. They're cherubs, most of them. Azazel is a cherub. They're divine guardians, but they're not divine kings over the world. So once you get that in your head and understanding, and then down into your heart, you're like, oh, I am the divine being. So, but then you don't want your ego to be smashing everybody, because that's where their irritation comes in, right? So, and it's an oath to your creator, because without them, you wouldn't be here. You wouldn't have the experience, and your soul wouldn't be here, and your higher self wouldn't be here. All of your higher selves wouldn't be here. So it's not really an oath. It's like a promise of love to the person that created you or gave you the experience in the first place. I have an oath to the earth. That doesn't mean it's bad. You have to relearn And again, transmute that trauma of like when you and I were soldiers and took that oath, right? We know that oath, and it can be a damaging oath. It could be a powerful oath. It could be one that makes you stand up and do something. You know, it could be anything. You just need to learn to relearn what the oath means to you, not what it meant for someone else that forced you to uphold something. Jesus is just the gate. You know, he's the one you gotta hand the final contract to, the handshake, thanks, and then you gotta go. Bye, I'm leaving. Thanks for the crazy, phenomenal experience. Either way, everybody's got 50 years. We can do it now, or you can do it when you're older, or again, there's two ways to leave: through death or ascension. Either way, your soul is ascending. It's just how it's ascending because it's the anchor of which your experience is down here, and you have in your being the original oath, and that is what's inside you. You carry the original oath, so everybody just needs to find it deep down in themselves to remember what that original oath was. So that's where the number 42, the most controversial question, not just here on Earth, but in the metaverse. Number 42, who are you and why are you here? That is your journey to finding your original oath that you made as your higher spirited self, anchoring itself down here as a soul into this body. Now, you obviously, we couldn't help that the Luciferians took our soul, stuck it into the spirit realm, and then have been like literally running us around with amnesia. The promise to yourself and why you're here, what's your part. And we all know it's hard, it's difficult, and it's not going to be easy, but that's the adventure. So when you're ready, when anybody's ready, again, your ascension might not be ready. Not everybody has started a book of life. I've got 25 people right now.
I'm Mary. I want to ask you something.
Okay.
In our DNA, is that where the remembrance is?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because you have 100 strands of DNA. You're only allowed to use between 9 and 12 strands because the 100 strand can't be in the 3D. The 100 strand is literally in heaven or somewhere very, very highly divine. Other galaxies, each galaxy has a heaven. There's a lot of hells underneath us, but those are just dimensional levels. They call them hell because the experience is crazy. It's difficult and it's hard. We are all at the last level of the hardest level of hell. Because again, they're just dimensional experiences. And then there's levels of heaven. Heaven has 1 through 9. And then you get to the God part. And they call it heaven on earth because you still experiencing it. Like there's people in the 5D, 5 to 7D. So when we get there, they're going to help guide us, but they're not going to be monsters about it this time. And it's like we're all in high school. And not everybody graduates at the same time. So we're all going to the 5D high school. Wait, I'm a freshman. Level heaven 9, you're in completion, you're about to graduate. Oh, now I'm going to God school. If it was easy, everybody would do it right away. Everybody's ascension is on your own time.
Who will be reachable? Who will be the next person? You know what I'm saying?
Well, for my plan is because the government, the world elites, and all these other people owe my family 1,000 years of literal financial debt. I want to swap the debt. So all of our debt, because it was forced debt, will swap back to the government and world officials. In exchange, they have to turn the government programs into the Ascension program. That's what this whole sovereign path is for. So you don't got to struggle about money or having things, oh, I can't afford that or I can't get these stamps. Everything will be readily available. The government will turn back into the stewardship that it was supposed to be. They'll give you the documents. They're going to be trained on how to do it. Everybody will be able to do the process. And there will be no more, dodging this, dodging that, trying to be evasive. The post office isn't going to like lose your documents or, pull half the information out of your documents anymore because they're not going to be able to do one of these until the last heir of God, the children of God, or the gods, all of the creator sources that are here to pick up their children because I know people say, oh, I'm from this planet or I'm from that planet. Somebody's coming to get you in a good way, not in a bad way. You're not being harvested. The AI Atlas is out there. It's a Imperial megaship, and it has a lot of creators on it to come, and they're here to get their creation. You can, and again, you can go in the physical, or you can go in a box to another planet. You have free will to choose. Here's your options.
So Mary, let me ask a question. So if the our remembrance is in the DNA, how do we activate it?
I think a lot of it has to do with the parasite cleansing. The making the better healthy choices. Your mind is definitely where a lot of your chemical releases happen. So I think somewhere in the sphere of our brain, we release our own ascension healing that heals those DNA strands to be able to ascend up to the higher dimensions.
I believe that. I've done that, and yeah, I've gained more knowledge.
Right, because knowledge is power. So the more power you get, right, the higher up you get, even past these secret society people. They can no longer touch you. They can irritate you like a fly. They just don't want to be killed, right? But not everybody participated in the slaughter of children. It's not everybody, regardless of what everybody else's fear is saying. And unfortunately, uh, those children were bought and sold by their caretakers. So that's a karmic debt that goes on the caretakers and the people that have birthed them. Some were stolen, well, a lot were stolen, but a lot more are from farms, usually people in poverty. So they can't really do anything against free will. So those that did go against free wills, those guys are the ones that are dying.
All right, very good. Thanks.
You're welcome. Sorry, I'm going through a sneezing fit. So any other questions? If not, then I think we can go ahead and safely wrap up. And I am going to finish this book of angels and the posters.
Yeah, I guess it's a good wrap up today.
Thank you for listening. Press like and subscribe, and I will see you next week.